And the laws that we have in place, like the rules that we all agree on, are like, don't threaten people, don't dox people, allow for discourse, allow for people to agree or disagree, even if they say the nuttiest shit. Like Trump was appointed by Jesus, and he will now be president forever when Jesus returns.
But I think what's going to happen is there'll be places where people are going to say that. Like I do think that what's going to happen. YouTube is this big platform, right? But I do think you have other platforms like Rumble and like Odyssey, and they're just never going to be as big as YouTube. But I think Rumble's got what, 60 million people on there. It's not small.
No, Rumble's really growing. They're growing huge, and so they're signing people too. They're signing people to go over to Rumble, which makes sense. Yeah. And the laws that we have in place, like the rules that we all agree.
60 million people on Rumble. Ugh. My hair looks weird today. 60 million people on Rumble. And I dare say, Joe Rogan gets it. He understands it, as is reflected in the terms of service, the free speech policy that Robert Barnes and I drafted, crafted, meticulously massaged into the wonderful, I call it a work in progress that it is. People should be able to say nutty SH asterisk T. To the extent it doesn't break the law, to the extent it doesn't harass, threaten, or immediately incite predictable violence. There's some pretty hefty Supreme Court precedent coming out of the United States. True threat, direct threat, otherwise First Amendment. Situation gets a little slippery, slopier up in Canada. And, it's sort of the good segue into the subject matter of today's stream. First of all, we are on slow mode, and we're on subscriber mode. If there are people out there hell-bent on trolling, sabotaging the chat, or attempting to, you're going to have to subscribe and wait 5 minutes. If there's any spamming, however, or what I consider to be actual threats that I can see in the chat, that's my line that's drawn in the sand. Sex bots get blocked, and we're pretty good in the chat. We have a good, respectful community. But today's stream, I mean, it's hilarious because people are in the chat joking. CSIS are watching. That's Canadian Security Intelligence Service, something along those lines. I have no doubt CSIS is watching today. No doubt. I have no doubt they've probably been watching since the Ottawa convoy, maybe even before. Because when you start talking about certain things, when you have Alex Jones on a channel, when you don't limit yourself to the social pressure of guilt by association to 5 degrees, where if you end up shaking hands with big bad Jeremy Mackenzie, you need to go out and publicly renounce racism and violence. We'll get into it. But I have no doubt that I have been listened to, maybe even watched by Canadian authorities, if for nothing else than documenting reality and sensitizing people to the fact that we as a people have been, are being, and will continue to be lied to by the media, by the government in real time. And but for having a 6-hour live stream on the streets of Ottawa, people would think that the Ottawa protests were littered with Yahtzee flags, Confederate flags, people desecrating monuments. And there are people who are out there that still believe that. Paranoid much. Dude, paranoid, it's not just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people are not following you. Doesn't mean people are not listening to you. And now I'm going to have on Jeremy Mackenzie, Mr. Diagolon, Mr. What do they call him? Ideologically motivated violent extremism. We're going to break that down when we talk to Jeremy. But Jeremy is the founder of a fictional country led by a goat statue called Diagolon, which started off, from what I understand, but we'll flesh it out, as an internet joke in Jeremy's community, because he also happens to be a sit-down comic, as he says on Instagram. Diagolon was referenced multiple times by the Canadian Parliament when deciding to invoke the Emergencies Act, the version 2.0 of the War Measures Act, which had only been invoked once in the history of Canada, maybe twice. There might have been something in the 1800s. Once by Justin Trudeau's father during the FLQ crisis. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's the Front Libération de Québec, where they were actually kidnapping and killing politicians, actually setting off bombs in mailboxes. They invoked it then. And Trudeau's father abused of that, I think, arguably, but probably correct invocation of the Emergencies Act, but went on to abuse it. Not quite as much as his father, his son, who had absolutely no basis in law or fact to invoke it, but whatever. Diagolon makes its way through Parliament, a meme that is now serving as the basis to invoke the Emergencies Act. And it's resurfaced again recently because Jeremy Mackenzie, the founder, apparently trolled Pierre Poilievre by shaking his hand, getting a picture, putting it on social media. And now none other than Jagmeet Singh, who himself has been in photos and videos with actual separatists who have actually engaged in actual big T, rhymes with schmerism, is now condemning Pierre Poilievre, asking him to denounce the fact that he took a picture with a guy who founded what, by all accounts, even the antihate.ca, is a fictional meme internet joke that made its way to Parliament. And what better way to protect your ego when you get caught buying into an idiotic joke? You got to make it real afterwards. Ego above all else. When you are caught being stupid, make it true so that you're no longer stupid for having been caught buying into something absolutely stupid. All right, that's my intro. I'm going to read some super chats and then give the standard disclaimer. Jeremy, I look forward to meeting you and James on Friday. I can tell you all about the S show EMS in Nova Scotia right now. It's much worse than you think. I don't know. Oh, the shit show? Okay, I don't know what that means. And Julia Mora, always love your streams, David. Thank you for interviewing Jer. Hugs. Thank you. Standard disclaimers: no medical advice, no legal advice, no election fortification advice, no guilt by association. But by the way, I told Jeremy this when I spoke with him earlier this week to make sure that we were going to do this. I'm not going to pussyfoot around the issues. I'm not going to spare him the negative stories that are out there. We're going to talk about it. I understand he's having some legal issues, and I'm going to ask the questions, and it's going to be up to Jeremy's better discretion. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing to answer, and probably answer truthfully, because I have no doubt some people are going to be watching this trying to catch Jeremy in a lie, trying to catch Jeremy in some form of perjury. So Jeremy's a big boy, and this is not promotion. This is not outright condemnation. This is going to be exploration. And if Jeremy and Diagolon are in fact ideologically motivated violent extremists, this video, like the 50 hours of live streaming I did during Ottawa, will be on the internet forever. I'm not sure what kind of shirt you're wearing. Is that red? Damn it. I forgot to put my merch shirt on. Doesn't matter. Okay, with that said, I think Jeremy's been waiting patiently in the backdrop for long enough. Jeremy, get ready. Cesis, get ready. How are you doing, sir?
How are you doing? Great. Thanks for having me. It was a great opening statement. You sound like a lawyer.
I am a lawyer, which means that I'm somewhat more judicious with my words, even when I get angry. I think that's going to be one of the morals of this story that we're going to get into later on.
I need to work on that. I need to.
We learn through our mistakes. I should say we learn from the mistakes of others, but we learn from our own mistakes much, much quicker. Jeremy, let's look for 30,000 foot overview. I am going to get into your childhood history, upbringing before we get into the scandal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
Who are you? 30,000 foot overview for those who may not know.
Hopefully not on a plane being forced out of a door, because I hate jumping and I hate heights. I know what you mean. I'm from Nova Scotia. Yeah. I'm born in Nova Scotia, 1986. I'm 36 years old. I graduated high school, joined the Army Reserves and then the regular force military. I was an infantryman for about 14 and a half years. I've been not all over the entire world, but up and down the United States, parts of the Caribbean, Southeast, the area, South Pacific Ocean, Europe, Afghanistan, of course, and other places like that. I have 3 children. I retired out of the military in 2017, and I now live in Nova Scotia again, and apparently have become something the government really doesn't like on the internet, and I'm suffering the consequences of that. I don't know. It is my own fault, technically.
Jeremy, you know what? I'm an idiot. I just got your joke about being.
I saw the wheels turning. Who am I at 30,000 feet? Hopefully not the guy getting tossed out of the door, because I hate that stuff.
Jeremy, is your good mic plugged in? Just make sure
so.
It sounds like it might
I know exactly what happened. Thank you for reminding me.
Yep. I sometimes I realize when I don't get a joke from the chat because I'm still I'm thinking about other things and it doesn't always get through.
Is that working?
That's much better.
There we go. Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
StreamYard will reset. It automatically defaults to the camera, and I've done that before and couldn't figure it out.
36, you said. 36.
Yes. Yep.
If I may ask the age of your kids, if you're comfortable answering that.
They're all under the age of 9.
Okay, sweet, merciful goodness. Okay,
yeah.
And you said you're born in Nova Scotia.
Correct.
And you said 15 years in the military.
14 and a half or so.
Okay,
yeah.
so
it was 2003 to 2017.
Let me dive into that a little bit. 2003, 86. You're 17 when you enlist?
Correct.
And you do fit. Okay, so explain for those of us who've never served, I've never trained a day above and beyond Spartan races. You go in it at the age of 17. Why? I mean, do they give you free education, salary, and you have to do a certain amount of years of training?
There is that angle. I was just obsessed with it. When I was a little kid, I think maybe in 10, 11, 12, I was kind of watching Batman and, I was really into baseball and that kind of stuff. And there was a kid across the street from me who I was friends with for a lot of my childhood who was really into like war movies and stuff, probably because his grandfather was himself a World War II veteran. And I was fascinated. As soon as I understood that was a thing that you could do, that's what I was doing. And I didn't think about anything else. So pretty much as soon as I was capable, I enlisted in the Army Reserves.
And you did. So how does that work? You're 17 years old. What does that do? Training? Is it, I don't even know how it works. 24/7? Are you out for 2 months and then you come back?
Yeah. So in the reserves, they kind of start at that kind of pace. They kind of work around people with full-time jobs. So they have like a part-time, weekends, March break, summer vacation, that kind of thing. So the first couple of years wasn't too big of a deal. But I was really into it. I really enjoyed it. You do, just, it's basically like a watered down version of your regular basic training. But then the opportunity came up to, go fight the war. And they said, this was mid 2006, I think. So people were starting to get killed at a pretty regular clip. And we understand there was a lot of, gunfighting happening, which was not something that happened to Canadian soldiers since Medak Pocket, and then before that, Korea. So a lot of us felt that this was quite an opportunity to get in on, doing the business. So we volunteered, and they, took us and trained us up for a little bit and dropped us into the regular force infantry unit and said, sink or swim, you're on your own. And that was that. I went deployed with the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment in 2007 in January, and I stayed there after that. And that's how I got into the Army.
And so when you say they plop you down 2006 in the middle of a war, you see like I would say real action. What was your position again? Or your
I was most of the time I was a C9 light machine gunner, it's called. So there's 2 of them in an 8-man or 8 or 10-man section, we call them. There's 2 of those, and I was one of them in a platoon of about 40 and a company of 130. So sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say, what does that experience feel like, and what I will say trauma? What does it leave with you as a human afterwards?
I was actually talking about this a little bit last night, and I am grateful for a lot of the things that happened. It's kind of like, life's funny that way. It's just whatever you choose to take away from an experience. It could be very bad. It could be very good. It's your own mindset and how you deal with it is incredibly relevant and powerful. Like to one man's, crushing trauma that breaks his soul, it could be to another man, does the exact opposite and creates something, much stronger. If he's, that's just, people are funny that way and they're different. And I learned a lot about myself, and, something like, I can know in my heart that I can be so scared that I'm going to die that I can't feel my legs or my feet. My hands aren't working properly. I can't manipulate the buttons and the stuff on my equipment because the blood's leaving your head. Because when you're in that kind of fear and your anxiety levels up that high, the blood starts to pool in your torso. So you can't really feel it. And then knowing that, like, yeah, there's these people are trying to kill us. All right, go get them. I'll go do it. I'll try, So knowing for a fact that you're not that, that's scary. That's what fear feels like. So when people ask me like, oh, isn't this stressful? Like, doesn't this worry you? I'm like, not really. The stuff that's going on, like I've been through much worse. Like this isn't really that difficult.
And so 17 years, is that full-time service for the full 17 years, or is it part-time?
It was 14 and a half. And the first couple of 2 or 3 was reserve and the rest was regular force. So it was like full-time. Yeah.
Okay. And now I know the answer already, but in your 14 and a half, damn near 15 years of service, what was your performance like? Any reprimands, any issues, any misbehaving?
No, I mean, it depends on who you ask, but I did the best I could. I was a ambitious kind of guy. I spent a lot of time. I tried to, I did spend a little bit of time in the special operations community, like just, the selection. I spent some time on one of the courses and had an injury and went home. But and a lot of those guys are, friends of mine still. And that's what I like to do. And I wanted to go, do like the paratrooper course and, that kind of stuff. I wasn't, just wasn't just happy to be there. I wanted to be in the reserves. I thought that was enough. And I always looked for the next thing because it just, once I got used to something, I wanted to try something else just to see how far I could go and to see what I could do. Sorry, what was the question?
No, well, that was good enough in terms of like whether or not it's full time. Now I could do.
I remember. Yeah, no, I've never been. I had no issues. I mean, you get the odd like chiding, like somebody's like, this is how you correct behaviors, NCOs. But for like actual crimes, like stuff that, so the military has its own law system, the code of service discipline. And I understand you've talked to James Topp. He's been on here. Oh, he's been charged with all these things in the military with what is essentially a parking ticket. It's really not that big of a deal, but because he spoke out in uniform and so on. I've never been charged with anything. I've never had guys can get that for being drunk or late for work or that kind of thing, or really egregious offenses. But no, it's
15. And how do you leave? Is it honorable discharge, retirement? Yeah. So you have an honorable discharge.
Yes.
One question I didn't ask. I could talk about the military stuff for way too long. I think we need to get to the stuff.
I can too.
Yeah. But the question is this: how many siblings do you have, and what did your parents do? If you don't mind me asking that question.
Am I being psychoanalyzed? Is that what's going on? You're building a profile. Is that what this is?
No, I always ask these questions, and I have a track record to prove it.
I'm just gonna start reading the life history of Jeffrey Dahmer and see if you notice. No, I have one sister. I have a sister, and I have a stepbrother, and I have my family lives in Nova Scotia, and my parents are still alive and still together. They're very, very, very lucky to have the upbringing that I had. I had a really great, stable, loving home and a great family. And, I think that's a big part of who I am today. I think that's very important for young people to have a good home. Obviously we know that because when they don't, it can go sideways, but thanks, okay, Mom. Thanks, Dad.
Okay. So now you do 14 and a half years, honorable discharge. Why do you decide to leave the military, and what do you do after you leave?
That's a good question. I was just tired, like I wanted, basically it wasn't so much that I did really want to be a soldier, but I found out what I really wanted to find out was like, I wanted to know what kind of man I was or could be, and just like know things about myself. And it got kind of boring. Like I was done. I had done all the exercises. I already done, combat deployment. I've done everything I wanted to do. I spent a little bit of time in the special forces guys just to see what they were like and see how that went. And I kind of just felt like, and I had a young child, I had a baby at home, and I think another one on the way. And they were like, oh, we'll send you you got to go to Poland now for 6 months, 8 months to sit there, because 60 Canadian paratroopers or something is really going to scare the shit out of the Russians. So we need to go there. And I've got these kids at home and she's dealing with it. And I was just like, do I really need to keep doing this? Like what's more important? Like this kid's going to be twice his age. He's only 6 months old now. He's going to be a whole year old when I get back, or longer. And then, you go to the field often. Like you guys are not home. They spend half of their life away from their families, like at least, if not more than that. And I felt like I just, I didn't have anything left to prove to myself. So I was like, that's probably enough. This is probably fine.
It's funny you mention it. I was literally just watching reunion compilations with my kids and wife of military people coming back to see their dogs. It's like I'm a baby, and I know that I'm sensitive, and I know that I'm probably weak. And when I go away for like 2 days and I already get homesick, I can't understand it.
Dude, I cry all the time. Don't worry about it. It doesn't mean you're weak.
It's the idea that you're away from kids for 6 months, longer. You miss the most important parts of their lives. You come back, the reunion is beautiful, but in a meaningful spiritual sense, there is a distance, there is a gap to bridge, and you're almost strangers you're almost strangers in a sense, and it's devastating. And people look at this and then don't really fully appreciate the sacrifice that the military
and that. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that's part of it too. And not even just that, the families have to suffer with them as well. That's the other thing that people don't really talk about a lot, is the family members, the wives, the spouses, the children, the parents and stuff that are left behind to sit there and worry about this and stress over it. And my dad, the guy that he was just going to start running. He started running marathons, and was not in shape to run at all. And he just decided that's where he put his stress and did that. But You know, I could be like, that's a pretty powerful, you know, he was stressed, obviously. You know what I mean? And they got to deal with that. And then if the worst happens or people get injured or they get killed, then that's something they live with forever. It's not that one guy that's gone. It's that whole family that's been affected forever. So, you know, part of my gripe with these kinds of things is if you're going to do that to people, if you're going to send them into this, like, we'll do it, we'll go. But you'd better be right. This had better be worth what we're doing, because if it's not, I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah, well, okay, that's it. This is why it's not to say that I have any prejudgments, but I do tend to have respect for servicemen, where I will not judge them reflexively because of what I read in CBC News, whom I know to be propagandists of the highest order. So, with that said, Jeremy, that's an amazing backstory. I think most people who follow you, they probably already all know this. I've been digging. So tell me, so you get out now. What do you decide to do when you get out? How do you get into the internet, raging dissidents, sit down comedy? I mean, tell us, for those who don't know, how that happens.
So essentially what happened is it's towards right before I got out, not long before I got out, I was doing a course in Petawawa, and I was in a pretty bad snowmobile accident. I should be dead. I pretty much sailed off the trail at 110, turned the skis, sled went forward anyway because of ice. And I went, well, now I'm going. It was like a Ricky Bobby moment. Like, I'm going in the woods. It's not good. And I jumped this way, the bike went that way, and I landed in a me-sized patch of snow. I, you know, almost somehow didn't break my femur, but I went through a tree, lost my helmet, concussion, the whole thing. Got up and walked out of it, you know, miraculous. And I spent this next a few months recovering, and you know, my wife at the time was, you know, with the son, they go to daycare and they're doing all these kind of activities. I'm kind of on crutches. I can't really do much. And so I start reading stuff on the internet that I never really had time to before. I started reading about things I was curious about and questions I had about certain events and people and things and so on. I basically went to conspiracy school back in the old internet before everything was wide open. It was crazy. And I just really came away with the impression that something's like, this is not, I had been asleep to a lot of crazy things that had been happening. And then all of a sudden my priority shifted to like, this is important. Like, people need to be talking and hearing about these things, because, you know, what am I doing? I'm sitting around on a snow. I could be playing video games all day. So I got to kind of basically the end of the internet, and I didn't know what to do. I'd retired now, and I've been sitting there like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, do I do a motorcycle mechanic course? I don't know. I have no idea. All I ever wanted to be was a soldier. I started thinking about doing contracting. That was basically, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to do that now, because I still have all my equipment and stuff. Well, I did. I still have all my
relevant fact, people, for later discussion. We'll get
still have all of my you know, stuff laying around, and I look at it and I see it all the time, and I'm just like, you know, this is what I do. This is all I know how to do. This is who I am. And then I remember something my mom told me a long time ago. I was a young kid. She's just like, 'cause who knows you better than your own mom, right? She said, you need to do something creative. That's what you need to do. Like, I don't know what that is, but like, you know, something where you can control and create your kind of thing. So I'm watching a guy, I think it was Owen Benjamin, actually streaming one night, and he's just got his laptop in a backyard, and there's 5,000 people watching him. I was like in my mind picturing, because it's part of what you do in the military, especially the infantry, is, you know, like this many, how many guys, 5,000 people is like, that's like half a stadium. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. And this is just, it's nothing, just a laptop, just a, you know, crappy, so I thought that was crazy. So I was like, I used to make little short, silly videos. I did it in the military sometimes too, for morale, you know, just joke around and make stuff. And I was like, I'll do that. Maybe I'll give that a shot. And, you know, if I build a little bit of an audience, I'll try to start doing this live streaming thing, because that looks fun. And away we went. And I did that for a little while. I built a little bit of a following. And then there was the Omar Khadr incident. And then kind of blew up after that.
This is 2018, give or take?
This would be about 2018, yeah. 2017,
way,
2018.
For anyone who missed the name, you did say Owen Benjamin. And this was sort of, if you're saying that it was when Owen Benjamin was in his backyard, this is sort of after his channel. It was after he sort of, I'll say this without judgment, but he took a tangent. He went from doing the stand-up comedy to doing other stuff, which people did not like. And some people, you know, whatever. So
I thought he was fascinating. I was just like, what is this story? I think that's how I found the story, and people were talking about him. So I just started watching him, like, huh, you know.
I think I was I was actually familiar with Owen Benjamin when he was doing edgy humor. And then he took a turn in a way that I think is reflective of when people start seeing conspiracy everywhere. Much like sort of Alex Jones in the Sandy Hook area, you start seeing conspiracy everywhere, even sometimes where it doesn't exist. But he still has a pretty big following. Okay, so you cut your teeth on Owen Benjamin. That's already one strike against you.
I don't normally say that. I just was like, the idea that this is it dawned on me that this was a new thing that, and I think he was one of the first people to really capitalize on this. Like the whole live streaming thing in 2017, 2018, it wasn't really a thing. You had stuff like InfoWars, Alex Jones, and other kind of comparable, but it wasn't the idea of just some guy, kind of doing his own thing. Like, because it never occurred to me like that you could even do that. So I was like, wait a minute, and then now it's become, I mean, you're doing, everybody's doing this now. So he was kind of a pioneer that way.
Yeah.
But it just hit me like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do this. It just kind of.
And this is 2018 now, so it's post 2016. It's in the Russia hoax scandal where we have now a lot of us who were wet behind the ears, totally green, are now fully ripened to the state of the world. So you're getting into this. You start with Owen Benjamin. So
none of that surprised me at all. See, this is the great part. Like the last couple of years has been so for people to be kind of shocked and confused as what's happening, and then go search for alternative explanations, and then they can weigh themselves and decide like what makes sense to them and what they believe is true. And that's they're coming up like, and I get messages from people like, did you hear about this? You know about that? I'm like, yes, man, I've seen everything. I've literally seen everything. I've been doing this for like 8 years now. I know all about it. Yeah, some of there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. There's a lot of really interesting and disturbing things too. It's one of those. That's probably the most difficult part of that. Doing this kind of thing is trying to siphon what's real and what's not, because there's so much intentional, bad information, and then there's just people getting it wrong, and then there's people being hysterical, and it's become, to curate what's actually happening it's almost become an art form in itself.
And also not to run too quickly with something that you haven't taken the required time to vet. Once upon a time, even RFK Jr. coming out and saying the whole thing about the snake venom, probably not worth touching. People stick to the stuff that's confirmed. It's more. And by the way, I brought this chat up. We're going to get there. So I want to ease our way into Diagolon. So you start.
That's the right way to do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. We can't just jump in, people. We got to make the bed. We got to get everything nice and warm. Light the candles. When do you start your YouTube channel or your podcast? How did it evolve from where it started to where it's at? And actually, how many people now do you have on a cross-platform following you?
I've been banned so many times now, so it's hard to say. I would estimate, like, just based on the metrics and everything that I have from like all the different platforms, I'd estimate it's around 25 to 50,000 people.
Okay, very. And so when do you
12,000 YouTube subscribers or so, and 14,000 Telegram, and 20,000 on Instagram. But they go up and then they get banned. Then they go back up again, and you get new people, you lose some. It's really, but in the website traffic and everything. But I started just making silly videos and trying to kind of make sort of like sketch comedy / Paul Watson-esque kind of weird. I don't know what it was. It was just crazy, and that's where a lot of the people started, showing up from. And then this is what I wanted to do. Because it's way easier, it requires way less work. You don't have to storyboard anything, and you don't have to do the editing. I can just sit down and shoot my mouth off and go home, and it's way better. So I started probably doing that around 2018.
Okay, and so you start building up a platform. I guess the question is this: we're going to have to get into the two big things: your arrest and Diagolon as a concept. Well, that's so. Let's say 2018, you start making content. When do you start do you start experiencing any problems on the platform? Getting flagged, getting demonetized, getting booted? Like
not right away.
Okay. And so when do you start having those problems?
I was pretty much just, minding my own, just saying, doing my thing. I was completely unaware this whole other world existed. Like there's a whole political war happening everywhere. Like in every, there's operators on both sides battling for influence and control literally everywhere. I had no idea this was a thing. I thought it was just innocently like, la, 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 I'm on the internet. I had no idea. And at the time, the government had recently awarded the $10.5 million bonus prize to Omar Khadr. And I was obviously, upset about that, as a lot of people were in the military. But nobody's allowed to, especially if you're in the military, not allowed to say anything. You're not allowed to have a public opinion. That's why Mr. Top was charged in the first place, because he chose to do that, and I respect him for that very much. I went to, it just so happens, as if the universe was tempting me to, put my money where my mouth is. It's like, well, it just so happens Omar Khadr is going to go on a speaking tour, and he's a victim. He's a child soldier, and, the poor guy, everybody loves him. And I was like, where is this taking place? Like, oh, it's 10 minutes from your house. I was like, well then, okay. So I'm going to have to go down there. Antifa starts threatening me, and they're like, we're going to show up. No one showed up. There was no one there. I showed up, and basically I live streamed the whole thing, and I just, called out the city as if I would if I was in the military for doing something that's like a bunch of guys have done something really, really messed up, and no one would look at me. No one would talk. I had my medals on, everyone ignored me. and they just put their heads down. You know,
I'm going to bring this up because it's not clear that everybody knows about Omar Khadr. I mean, I know Canadians will. This is Reuters. What year is this? 2017. Canada to compensate ex-Guantanamo inmate, opposition furious. Canada's Liberal government will apologize to former Guantanamo Bay inmate Omar Khadr and pay him 10 million Canadian dollars in compensation. I think it was 10.5. A Canadian citizen, Khadr was captured in Afghanistan in 2002 at age 15. And this is not to be judgmental. 15, they try people as adults in certain states and countries. After a firefight with U.S. soldiers.
He was 6 months shy of his 16th birthday, so he was almost closer to 16.
He pleaded guilty to killing a U.S. Army medic and became the youngest inmate held at the military prison in Cuba. He later recanted, and his lawyers said he had been grossly mistreated in 2010. The Canadian Supreme Court ruled that Canada breached his rights by sending intelligence agents to interrogate him and sharing the results with the United States. So we can blame Trudeau, but it went to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
The case proved divisive, to say the least. Defenders called Khadr a child soldier, while the then Conservative government dismissed calls to seek leniency, noting he had pleaded guilty to a serious crime. Meet Canada's newest multimillionaire, said the Conservatives. So that's the that's the gist of it. We don't need to get into more details. In case any Americans are watching and you hadn't heard about this, it was kind of a big political deal. I was not politically conscious when this happened, but. So you go down, you're streaming this, you're voicing your discontent, and this is then what launches you into your path.
Yeah, and there was a video there. A friend of mine took at the event, and it went on the internet, and it had like 7 or 8 million views, 6-8 million views, something like that. I went to sleep and then woke up to like 50,000 messages, and I got called to go on Gavin McInnes' show. But interestingly, he was the only person in the world that asked me for an interview or asked for anything. In all of it, 7 or 8 million views, and they didn't want that. I was like, so this is being suppressed. This is strange because this is everywhere. I mean, everybody I've ever met was calling me about this, and it just wasn't talked about at all. It wasn't mentioned. And then within 24 hours, 48 hours, there was a basically like a hit piece put out on me by one of the anti-hate collaborators, and it went back months. So someone had been watching, cataloging, and taking clips and snippets of things I had been saying and whatever, and saving it for a rainy day, just in case. And then I realized there's people like they're out to get me. I wasn't aware. Like, why would you do that to somebody? Why are you sitting here, doing this kind of thing? So now all of a sudden, I'm kind of starting to realize what's going on, and then it becomes, more serious after that. It became personal to me.
I'm trying to find the. Let me pull this one up. I think I might have this one in the backdrop because when I'm doing my research on you, I come across these articles.
Did you have enough time? There's a lot.
Oh no, you know what? Well, I'll tell you this. I can tell pretty quickly when the critique tends to be legitimate versus when it tends not to be. When they literally stitch together quotes in sentences, they say he said, quote, yada yada, blah blah, quote.
And some of them are from other people that wasn't even there. It's like another guy on the same stream that came on later. Said this is not the one I saw, but the Diagolon movement, and this is not the one I wanted, to accelerate. There's no way out. Quote, says Diagolon de facto leader Mackenzie. Quote, this is going to come to total shit. So let's just get over with it. End quote. Yeah. No video, no context, no nothing. And so knowing how these entities work, and especially knowing that anti-hate has gone after James Topp, I was skeptical, as I have grown to be, and probably rightfully so. So they start, after you report on Khadr, shed some light on something that it should be an embarrassment to the Canadian government. It's probably an offense to Canadians. And someone said, meanwhile, Indigenous Canadians don't have drinking water. It should be an offensive thing to Canadians, and it's egregious to the rest of the world. Hit piece comes out on you. Had you had, at the time of this initial hit piece, any run-ins with the law yet, or any issues yet? I've had 3 speeding tickets, I think, in my life. That's it.
Jeremy also made a video calling out the RCMP's incompetence surrounding the Nova Scotia shooting. The video reached 400,000 views on YouTube before being removed. I've got a bunch of other super chats that I'm going to get to. I'm not ignoring them. Okay, so you get this hit piece. What's the gist of the hit piece?
Racist, Islamophobic, neo-Nazi, basically the same kind of tropes they've been now throwing at everybody, just anything to make the shoe fit, you know.
Because you're calling out paying someone who did in fact plead guilty to killing a serviceman.
And one of the guys killed by the Taliban was my roommate, and he was from that city. I found that also particularly offensive. Like there wasn't a single person there for Chris Stanix, who was killed by the Taliban, who was from Halifax. The ferry is named after him.
Okay, so the first hit piece, they pull out some quotes, say you're whatever. What happens after that in your progression on the interwebs?
I just kind of kept going, and then became made aware of them and that and how everything went on, and it started to get started to kind of blow up a bit, and then unfortunately, my children's mom and I at the time, then we separated. I decided that I was going to go and just to change the scenery, to try and get my head around right. Like I was just kind of hanging out at my dad's place. I didn't really. So I went out ended up going a place I'd never been. I'll go to Saskatchewan. You know what I mean? There's some people out there I wanted to go see and hang out with. And then I was there 5 or 6 days, and then Corona happens, and everything shut down. And, I ended up staying out there for a few months. I ended up staying out there for a couple of years. And in the meantime, there was Greg Winch, great guy, Greg Wycliffe, the RCMP debacle over the massacre over here in Nova Scotia. And I had some questions about that. And I knew a couple of guys in the police force that I asked questions like, did this happen? Like, in case I'm missing anything, right? I don't want to come out here and attack these guys unless there's something else going on that I have no idea about. And the answers they gave me were like horrifying. So I was like, well, I guess they're clearly just, they're hiding something, and they're not answering questions, and they're changing their story, and they're doing a lot of crazy stuff. And people were like, well, what would you know about it? I was like, I have a lot of experience in chasing armed men, actually. There's certain things you do, and there's certain things you don't do. And it was just, anyway, it was a critical video, and it did get around to a lot of places. And then I've just learned recently, as of, legal proceedings, like we can talk about that later or whatever, if you want, that through my lawyer, that I've actually been a person of interest of the police for some time, long before I was ever arrested or charged with any crimes or anything like that.
I know we can't delve into the Nova Scotia shooting. I've talked about it at length, and even the mainstream media, after a sufficient amount of time has passed, started asking the big questions. How this guy withdrew $425,000 cash from a bank account. That tends to be how informants are paid through intelligence. How the RCMP didn't disclose the fact that this individual was driving either a replica or a real RCMP car for 12 hours while he went around shooting people. We've talked about it at length, but
those were basically the points I had made then, and I think I was the only one. And
that's it. You're too early. The mainstream media hadn't gotten to it yet, so you're the canary in the coal mine.
I got to stop being the first guy through the door. I keep getting shot in the face. This is stupid.
So that's metaphorically speaking, anybody who's watching. So you start making enemies with that because you're asking the questions too early. You have sources that some people don't have that are confirming some big questions. Trudeau's running with it politically to ban more guns, as though that was the issue in this case. When this guy acquired his guns illegally, had a $500,000 cash, a replica RCMP car, and had gone on what was effectively a 24-hour spree. Okay. I guess the question is going to be now, there's too much. When do you find out that you're a person of interest? What happens after the Nova Scotia video? And more importantly, when do you start the raging dissident? Like, when does that become a term?
So originally it was raging humanist for a while, just because I don't even know why. I just, for some reason, you needed some kind of name. I didn't want to use my own, so I just invented a thing, and it didn't really mean much of anything. And I'd lost a lot of faith in humans at that point, so I've just kind of changed. I thought this was a more accurate representation of who I am and what I'm doing. And that was, I think, after I've been, again, banned many times. I've been banned on YouTube 3 or 4 times, Twitter 5 or 6 times. I was banned from DLive. I was banned from Twitch. I was banned from, like, you name it, I'm banned pretty much. But then they just keep, I figured out
something wrong, Jeremy. If you ban from all these places, you have to be bad. I don't have to ask any more questions now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And it started getting around, and I ended up, I did a spot at Alex Jones, which was cool because it was somebody, I'd watched a lot of, years and years ago, and it just the progressed. It really started to get crazy with the Diagolon meme was when that thing started to kind of change.
Well, then and now we've done it. So we've gotten your history a little bit. Although I need to temporally, is that the word? I need to put into the timeline your first arrest.
Okay.
You know what? We need to. What was you've been arrested, charged twice, if I'm not mistaken.
So far, yeah.
Okay. What was it? When was the first? What was it about? When was the second? What was it about?
In January, I was arrested in January for all the scary gun charges. Maybe
January
terrorist stockpile.
2022 of this year.
Yeah,
that was your first time or your second time?
That was the first time.
Oh, when did you get arrested a second time?
That was in March. My girlfriend and I were arrested for standing in the street outside of a certain someone's home in protest because that person was doing things that we had problems with and doesn't answer phone calls, doesn't respond to emails, and doesn't go to the office because they work from home. So.
Okay, actually, so we skipped ahead a little bit too much then. So Nova Scotia, for anyone who doesn't remember, that shooting happens like right into the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, April.
So yeah, you call this out. You call it oot. Sounded very Canadian there. You call it out. You start getting into a little bit of trouble on the social medias. Is Raging Dissident taking off at the same time, or does that come a little later?
It's right around then because I started coming after the COVID stuff pretty early too. I remember. I'm not somebody that's always, because I picked this up in December. I had noticed what was going on in China, and there were these videos and stuff were coming out. There was a lot of weird, like I was kind of like, I think we should be paying attention more at this. And everyone's like, oh, they always do this. It's like Ebola. It's like the Zika virus. So I was like, I don't know, this one feels different to me. And then it happened, and then the whole thing blew up, and I assume I was like, well, we'll find out in about 6 weeks or so. Like, we're either going to have a lot of bodies and a lot of problems because no one is shutting the airports down. Flights are coming in out of China like crazy. They're saying it lives on boxes. There's Amazon things going everywhere. So like, oh, if we put on a mask, I'm like, I have biological chemical warfare training. Okay, like it's over. It's already over. There's no way you can stop this now. If this
you can't like wash your clothes off like that PSA out of New York said. Just go take your clothes off, wash them, and you'll be fine, people.
I remember bringing my gas mask on the stream. It's like, this is what you would actually need, and more than that, you need a whole suit and everything. You'd have to be hosed down, sprayed off, and then you probably want to burn those clothes and then get new ones every single time you went outside. And you've got people walking around with their masks, and then their kids are not wearing any. But I'm like, all right now. And I don't know a single person that's died or gotten sick. Still to this day, I don't know a single person that's died. And I'm like, this is around, I want to say April, May. I'm like, I'm pretty confident this is bullshit at this point, because what is this? And everybody, went into it, but it started to climb up, and then, the Diagolon meme happened a little bit later because of, probably inspired because of that, because of the mandates and so on. I'm having trouble remembering because I'd be back and forth. My family in Nova Scotia. So I was doing this, and I was in Nova Scotia when we did this stream in the basement there.
By the way, people are asking, what does I just before I forget, what FYMM? Now it's
it's a swear word.
F your mother something?
Nope. No. F you make me.
Oh, that's what so like what Rage Against the Machine used to be.
Sort of, yes. It's it was kind of the rallying cry. I just went into a tirade about, the man, and like, we're gonna make basically the attitude that a lot of people are feeling from the media is like, you're gonna do this one way or another. We're gonna make you do it. So I said, no, F you, make me do it. I refuse. So that means we will have to fight then, won't we? I am not taking a needle. I'm not doing it. If you want to do that, you're gonna have to come here, hold me down, and stick at my arm, and I will fight you. Do you understand? Like,
well, now we're getting into where I think the disagreement will come into play, Jeremy. So you vocal critic of government, of police, of COVID, of restrictions. You're now branding yourself as the Raging Dissident. I mean, as if there's something problematic with that in the first place. How does Diagolon happen? And then I guess you're going to have to contextualize it with Kekistan, because I'm less familiar with that, but I think that's the analogy.
Yeah. So I'm always trying to think of better, ways to kind of make this better, make it more fun, make it more successful. And something I'd noticed among other people that were successful at what they were doing is that they had ways of tying their communities together. Just name it, any kind of bigger channel, internet personality, like somebody like Steven Crowder, for example. He's got there's some kind of not so much an inside joke, but there's community, like maybe their own lingo or something, right? That their own inside jokes and this kind of stuff that they do. So I was kind of thinking about that. And at the time, and again, all the mandates are happening, and at the time, Western Canada wasn't doing it. Alberta and Saskatchewan were like, we're not doing that. And Eastern Canada was, and the rest of the country. And in the United States, a similar thing had happened. Florida, I don't know if they ever did, or not very long into it, they, ditched all of that stuff. Texas followed behind that. And I noticed that I was like, all the states that are doing it's like from Florida, if you start in Florida and go up through North America to Florida to Alaska, it creates this line. And in my head, I'm like, it's funny. I'll make it a white line, and then you've got this guy with his cocaine problem, right? And I have a black flag and a white line. Like so okay. Here's this is where all the cool people live, in the non-government like leave us alone territory, and it just became its own thing. And it was an insight. It was kind of a way to bring, and there's its own lore. It has its own, anthems and celebrities and game shows and crazy, things I just think of off the top of my head. Well, crows are very important because they help us clean the, dead bodies and stuff, like just crazy stuff that doesn't really mean, it's just, whimsical musings of a madman, I would say. And
I'm going to bring one thing up for anybody who doesn't know it: the 7 pillars of traditional marketing. It's a known fact, Jeremy, what they are. You have branding, you have your mantra, you have there's certain things. Like Scott Adams does it. It's not by accident.
I didn't even go to school.
No, I learned. I learned about this after.
I could barely read.
You got content. Okay, obviously branding, advertising, public relations. This is not, there was a book. It's called 7 Pillars or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it is.
Something really funny that just happened because we were going on about bees one day because I went out to visit my uncle. He's a beekeeper, and I was talking about bees being fascinating and this. And then someone said, well, we should have an army of bees, like Diagolon, like that's a weapon we have. We will release bees. I don't care how many soldiers you have, or when millions of bees descend upon you, you will flee. And then someone else we really haven't been a big fan of is the Premier of Ontario. The next day, a bee flies into his mouth.
Oh my God.
So we're like, well done. And his name, that was Captain Jeffrey of the Diagolon Bee Force. He died. He wasn't supposed to go like that. We knew there was a risk because he likes to eat a lot. And we thought there's a potential. He may just eat you right out of the sky. We didn't. Jeffrey knew the risks. And anyway, he's
my issue with that, I don't think it was a bee. I think it was just a fly. But
it could have been. It's hard to tell. Because he's like, it was in my throat. Like, that would be scary. If it's stinging the inside of your throat, you could die.
100%. My mother, there's a Freudian slip. My mother traumatized me with someone. She said, shave your beard. Somebody had a bee in their beard. They went to drink a beer. The bee went down, stung their throat, and they died.
Oh my God.
Oh no, but it's a true story. But like that'll mess you up for life. Yeah. So hold on. So now you're getting this is interesting. So the Diagolon is the inside joke of a channel. How many people do you have watching you at any given time at this point in time?
At that stage, the D Live days were great because I don't know if you're familiar with the platform.
I never used it, but I was familiar with it.
Yeah, it was kind of it was where everybody was landing after getting kicked off YouTube. So a lot of especially right wing or center right wing or even the crazy ones would end up on D Live, and then that way everyone started sharing audiences because unlike YouTube, there's only like 100 channels or something, right? So and it would show you who's online, and it was just people would bounce from one to the other. So then this huge mixture of audiences took place, which was great. And it was around that time that Diagolon stuff really started to get going.
You're faulted by anti-hate, by the media, where they take things out of they either take things out of context or they take things which are clearly intended to be hyperbolic and then make them literal. The tenor of the discourse. I mean, you're talking about things. Sorry, I brought that one up. Captain Jeffrey B did not die in vain. Oh no, the joke has come to Viva Frei. You watch Tim Pool. He talks about civil war all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody's accusing. I mean, nobody goes after Tim Pool and makes.
It's a concern. Yeah, it's a concern.
So now, what is the nature of the discourse? The tenor of your raging, ranting raise? Like, what is the language, the language you're using, and the general tone? If I may ask an obvious.
I intentionally try to find where the line is and just stop right on it, because that's as much as I can do and get away with and get my point across because not very many people do that. Which is fine. I'm not saying anyone should or they shouldn't, but if it's that is the limit of what we're allowed to do, well, someone should do it. Someone should take advantage of that. Because why else is it inside the box of what we're allowed to do? And that's just a way I express myself. I'm perfectly capable of having reasonable conversations, with anyone. But it's, part perform. I mean, the goal is to entertain people for 3 hours. You want me to sit here and wear a suit and tie and read my dissertation to you? Like, I mean, this is boring. No one wants to hear that. So I'm an emotional, passionate guy about a lot of things. And that's just, I've found that I have the ability to communicate in that way. Early, or I guess years ago, I kind of realized because people were really resonating with it, and I kind of figured out that it's not. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, like, I can identify and grab hold of an emotion or a sense of something, and kind of on the inside, and just let it out. and people, I think, appreciate the sincerity of it. Maybe, or maybe that's I'm articulating ways maybe that they feel that they don't know how to say, and they're just glad that someone's saying it. It's as therapeutic as it is anything. So it's, a lot of people don't get it, or people find it offensive, or they're like, oh, the yelling, or whatever. But it's not for them. It doesn't have to be for. If you don't like it, turn it off. I would, because I used to listen to guys kind of like this in the military. Like, there's ways of communication that exist that other people don't, know about. And just because you don't talk like that or I don't talk like that doesn't mean, it doesn't work on other people, or doesn't serve its own, kind of function and purpose.
This is the question. I mean, I'm going to pull up an article that describes some of the reading material that you go over on your channel. This is the question.
Yeah.
You walk the line in a sense. It's hyperbolic in a sense. Mm-hmm. Do you ever get the impression, or is it ever the intention to actually incite or actually encourage violence? And do you ever get the impression that maybe some people in the community get carried away, are getting carried away, or feel empowered to get carried away?
I wouldn't do it intentionally, because I don't want to go to jail. I know what's what you can not say, and that's why I wouldn't say it, because what are you going to do if you're in jail? It's not going to help anyone or do anything. And number two, I don't think it's necessary or needed. What everyone's doing right now, just if you want to call it subversive, it is, to them, to the overall ideology that's kind of gripped the world right now. If we're winning, the people, those voices are getting louder and proliferating and becoming more plentiful, and people are starting to see through the nonsense. Even a lot of the mainstream media stuff is starting to get cold feet and starting to swing the other way. Like, it's a matter of time once you kind of recognize the pattern. But yeah, there is people that they don't have any patience, or they don't have they get angry and stay angry, and that kind of thing. And that's something I've been more aware of, as the years went on. It was different when it was just me and 100 people in the basement kind of, talking. And then, yeah, there's an argument there, and I'm just doing it because I understand that what can take place. But the other side of it is too, like, I'm not responsible for anybody else's decision making. I can't, if I watch the news and maybe the prime minister says I'm an unacceptable person, how much longer should I be tolerated? If I go out and react, did he incite me to violence?
Well, the irony is, I would suggest that when politicians make those types of statements, they know what they're doing, and it has a real life impact much greater than when people who are known to be hyperbolic on the internet.
And that was my argument. Well, they say that, well, what you're doing is going to incite violence, going to encourage people to do this. I'm like, what you do to a much gigantic platform, you're sailing by in the USS Enterprise compared to me, and you're blasting out to everyone that a certain segment of the population should not be tolerated. They should be treated differently. They shouldn't be allowed to go to Thanksgiving dinner. You're dehumanizing very deliberately and very aggressively an entire segment of your population, and the prime minister of the country refers to them in a way that maybe we should just do something about them. Like, how long do we have to? I'll just leave it open-ended to you. What an insanely irresponsible thing to say. And if they're going to hold, and then rather than address that, they'll hold my feet to the fire over, like, well, you said this thing out of context 2 years ago about a book or something. So I have just so much contempt for them.
The funny thing is, and why I'm sympathetic, Jeremy, and why I'm skeptical, I saw the way W5 CTV, what they try to paint me as being something of a far right extremist, whatever, because some people can, when I call politicians raging psychopaths or pathological liars, some people, you know what they are. And there's not enough you can say to protect yourself against these types of accusations. But then you get the highest person of the land trickle down saying, giving the political permission slip to everyone out there. These people take up space. They're small fringe minority with unacceptable views. They're putting our children at risk. Yeah. And then lo and behold, you have a summer where 60 some odd churches burn and nobody knows why. But
and you know what else? What else happened? One of these people that is a great adherent of his and a proud Antifa member, and someone, the Antifa is an organization the Canadian Anti-Hate Network runs cover for and propaganda for and collaborates with. One of their members, David Zegarak, got into a Jeep Patriot and plowed it into a crowd of people in Winnipeg that were in support of the Ottawa demonstrations. It's a miracle no one was killed. That was an act of terrorism. You could argue is inspired by the state, because how long do we tolerate these people? And they're taking up space. Maybe there's some kind of virus, maybe they're the virus. Like, is that a surprise? And I'm shocked not more of that has happened. And, we had in New Brunswick, they were talking about locking people out of grocery stores. I mean,
they locked the unvaxxed out of box retailers in Quebec. It was magnificent. I went and documented that, and then you get blamed for putting people who are implementing these policies on blast. It's nuts. But so hold on, actually, Diagolon exists as a meme,
right?
For roughly how long before the Coots arrest? Because I've got to hold your feet to the fire, Jeremy. There was a Diagolon badge.
I've got boots on. I'll be fine. It was January 21. My year.
Is it like did it exist for a year or a month before Alberta?
It was during so it would have been January 2021. Would have been we called it D-Day, Dag Day. It's January 15th or 25th. The joke is I don't remember. None of us remember. We were all kind of drinking and I was high. So it's like it's whenever in January something that I feel like it's like it's the 18th. I guess today's the birthday. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it had some time to develop into its different levels, layers.
Yeah, so we had a flag. And then we needed a national anthem. We had our own salute. We do this one because it's the slash flag. You know,
that's close to the other salute.
Yeah, exactly, isn't it? It's almost tempting. It's almost gaslighting people to do certain things in a certain way. And they started, suggesting that if these people in the anti-hate network, which astroturfed this entire narrative and this entire story, which in my opinion was later picked up by intelligence agencies and given to the government, and the rest is history. So that was what they were doing. And then they would do things. So what I started doing again, and this is purely for the intent. And I've always stated this. And I started saying, find your friends, find the others. A friend of mine said it was a Jung quote, or I can't remember. It was an old psychologist quote. It was just find the others. You need to find your peer group, your people, because again, we're living through this time of division and segregation. Stay home, stay safe. Everyone's feeling very isolated and depressed. We had a party essentially out in Saskatchewan. A bunch of people came out that were fans of the followers of the podcast and the community and stuff. And I was just off to the side getting something, and I was observed 45, 50 people, most of them total strangers before today. And they'd been drinking together all night. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was laughing. Everyone was happy. And I was like, we need more of this. This is what we need to do. We need to bring this back. So I started saying, find your friends and find the others. So I created these groups on Telegram for as many as I could in each province. Like if you're watching me and you're in BC, I guarantee there's lots of other people in BC that are into the same things that you are, or if you're in Alberta, wherever. So go there and say, hey, I'm, you guys want to get a coffee at such and such a place? I'll be here at this time. Go out there and do it. So that's what they did.
Jeremy.
And then the anti-hate network started saying, oh, you know what he's doing? He's building a militia. There's a network of extremists forming here.
No, now I'm just putting it all together, because when they called it a militia network, this is like it's almost like Fight Club. Except it's Diagolon Club.
Dag Club, yeah.
and now this is the militia network across the country where you guys meet up and discuss how you're going to take down the government. Okay.
Yeah. So they start saying these things, and one day with this infamous picture that I love that they use that I took and edited specifically. I was like, well, I guess look at this. I guess we're a militia, guys. Hey, we're a militia now.
Let me see if I can pull that one up.
We got these skull masks, and we got the Diagolon flag. Some guys had their shotguns and stuff. It's Saskatchewan. It's Alberta, right? So it's like bring it. And off to the side of the photo is like 50 people with their kids, and they're like blowing bubbles and eating hamburgers and all this kinds of stuff. Is it on the page?
It's not on this one. It's the one. Did you censor over the eyes?
Yes. There it is. There it is. That's me on the bottom left there. So it's like, put these masks on, guys. And then I did redacted over this. And the media took it and was like, why? People published it and were accusing CTV of protecting our identities. And it's like, tell them, CTV, that you took it. Tell them that you took it from my Instagram page, and the caption was something like, I guess we're a militia now, or something like this. This was intentionally to gaslight them, and we were making fun of them. And then they took this as evidence that we are what they say they are. So I was like, people are kind of getting worried at this point, and I was like, there's nothing to find. No one's doing anything illegal anyway. So when if they do, or if they are stupid enough to send the police, which they have, and it's ongoing, they're going to spend millions of dollars looking for nothing. And who's going to be the asshole then?
Look at this, Jeremy. I just reading the caption. Diagolon members posing in skull masks with firearms and the flag of the Diagolon movement. In a live stream episode, Mackenzie claims this image was taken as a joke to poke the Canadian anti-hate network. Well done, because it poked them. He added that he is the individual squatting in the bottom left.
Yeah.
It's and then people are going to say, someone's going to be inspired by this. I mean, these are, Jeremy, may I ask the obvious question? Sure. They have to be, if this is in Canada, legal hunting rifles.
Yes, of course. Yeah, everything there is. None of them are mine, but.
But and it's like pose with a dead buck, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But make a joke with the firearm, and this is, by the way, it's dangerous. It's risky to make these types of jokes because the media will pretend not to get them when they want to. Like the time they took seriously Maxime Bernier tweet that the government had been infiltrated by Maoist communists, and they said, "Oh my God, he's crazy." Yeah. So you do this.
It may very well may be. That may be the case. I don't know if he's wrong.
So everybody, let's just go through that for 1 second. This is the article, and this is from June.
Oh, this is the new one. So the old one said a racist neo-Nazi militia is what we used to, because these are the experts, right? These are the experts in these kinds of things. And now it's a joke, but it's not, but they're neo-Nazis, but they're not, but we're inventing terms now. I think they've invented the term accelerationist just for me sometimes. I'm sorry they invented it specifically for me.
They create, once they get, it's the same thing with the AOK hand gesture when the ADL fell for the 4chan meme. They've got to make it real after. So this is what they've got to do. Conclusion. It is important to understand what Diagolon is and what it is not. The plot to carve up select regions of North America into a new counted superstate is, at its heart, a meme.
That's not what they used to say.
What Diagolon has become, let me just highlight this so I can read.
What's it become, Peter?
However, is both an actual and symbolic banner under which participants of this movement can rally and self-identify. Okay, so I haven't heard anything wrong yet, but this is after 2 pages of diarrhea. It's after 2 pages of diarrhea.
Yeah, it's very bad.
The community is a cross-section of trolls, shit posters, content creators, conspiracists, survivalist enthusiasts, and extremists.
Imagine being enthusiastic about surviving. What a maniac thing to do.
By the way, shit posters? I mean, I don't even know what that means, but God forbid, by the way. So you're it's a cross section of jokesters and the undefined extremists. And but what I love, this is what I love: ideological violence, ideologically
envy.
But what is ideologically
motivated violent extremists?
People have to just stop and flesh that concept out. Ideologically motivated means politics.
Yes.
Violence. We don't know what it means anymore because words are violence. Extremism, it is nothing but a way to relegate political adversaries under the IMVE. But
extreme to who?
Much like subjective. The Boogaloo movement. Boogaloo is another word for civil.
Was
war.
Also kind of just a running internet gag. You know,
it's been nobody.
It's like when everybody in the '90s was saying "wicked." You know,
but just listen to what they're actually saying. This is what anti-hate after their research, after their hit piece. Much like,
and I like to point out also, they watch everything that I do as well. I mean, minute to minute, all of it. And because they take a snippet out of 3 hours, right? And it's at exactly 2 hours and 9 minutes. And so somebody is watching absolutely all of it. So I would forgive them if it was like they saw a clip that someone took out of context and that's what they're writing about. It's different when they know that you're watching everything that you do. And I've explicitly taken great, care and time to explain to people every so often, because there's always new people coming in. We're not neo-Nazis. Nobody's a white supremacist. None of this is true, and they just ignore that.
Well,
and they don't print retractions. They didn't say, we're sorry, we said this, we messed up. No, they're just going to update. They're going to paint over the old paint with a different color and try to act like no one's going to notice.
It's so absurd because I saw a video. It was a montage, and I think I saw a black Canadian. I don't even like looking at skin color because it's irrelevant. But I think I saw some videos with black Diagolon members, and then they're going to say, "Oh, those are racist blacks. Those are anti-Semitic Jews." It's okay, but hold on, because this is fantastic. Much like the Boogaloo movement, Diagolon uses irony and memes to build an offline insurrectionary anti-state network. Anti-state. So, by the way, it's not to say if you don't like the Trudeau government, you're insurrectionary and anti-state.
Yes.
And remains attractive to adherents of militant accelerate. This is verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
Thus, it is not explicit.
The Ottawa government pays these people, by the way. It says openly right on their website they subsist on grants from the government of Canada.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thus, it is not an explicit terrorist movement organization because it's memes and shit posters by your own definition. But this does not prevent terrorist plotting or accelerationist violence from emanating from within the Diagolon movement.
Yeah.
Let's get to the big. It's mad. It's Jeremy.
It hurts.
I approached this with skepticism that maybe you are Tyler Durden. looking to upend.
I wish.
That's what the anti-hate says. But we've got to get to the unfortunate facts. The Coots blockade, the Coots arrest. And for those of you who don't know, this is the only link that the media has. Where was it? Here? Here we go. This is the only link that the media has that there was an alleged arrest, alleged conspiracy with these individuals to kill an RCMP officer. It's categorically bad if the allegations prove to be true. Nobody needs to say it except for idiots. Nobody needs to be called upon to condemn criminal activity. And the only people asking to do that are idiots. If this is true, very bad. It goes without saying.
Of course.
They found a cache of weapons, apparently away from the individuals. The details will emerge after their trial or during their trial, which is scheduled for 2023. But where you get in trouble, Jeremy, one of them attended one of your events, from what I understand. And if everyone looks down here, can you see my cursor or no? You can't. There's a vest, people, right above this scary looking, looks
like an MCR. Yeah.
I can't pretend. Right next to the machete.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's a lot of strange. I mean, I don't want to get into it now because it would take a long time. But a lot of strange characteristics about some of these firearms that would suggest they were slapped together by someone that has no idea what they're doing, which I found interesting. But
I can't pretend to have that much of an expertise. I know duck hunting rifles. I took the course. So that vest, people, under the table. If you see those two black things, they appear to be a Diagolon patch. Yes. And one of the individuals, if I'm not mistaken, it's left, right. It's Chris Carbert.
The guy on the right there, Chris Lysak.
Oh, it's the guy with the camo shirt on the far right? Okay.
Yep.
And then you got Ben Stiller from Dodgeball in the middle here. Sorry, I don't even know. I thought that just looks like Dwight
Jerry Morin. Yeah.
So these four people are charged. The one on the right apparently attended a get-together, was a Diagolon adherent.
Yes.
Look, there's these guys they're facing charges, but I mean, Jeremy, that's the connection. What do you have to say that your Diagolon movement actually, out of the thousands of people who watched you, one of them allegedly, he hasn't been convicted yet, is alleged to have been part of a conspiracy to commit a crime. Do you know the guy? Do you have? Okay, so what's
I met him twice. Great guy, nice guy. He had his kids with him. Seemed like a really loving, attentive father.
You just gave him the soundbite. You just gave him the soundbite.
Yeah. We had some barbecues the two times, and I had a photo with him once because he's enormous, right? And this is like he's just. I can't remember how tall he is, 6 something, and probably 370 pounds. He's an incredibly large man. And I looked it up. He was bigger than Brock Lesnar. So I had a picture with him, and it's just me and him standing together. And I was like, just for context, like I'm about 200 pounds, but 5'9.5", and I look like a child compared to this guy. So it's like, obviously he's Diagolon's head of security. You know, that was the joke, like a bouncer that you would have at a bar or something, right? And the media were like, we've captured his head of security. They thought they had, captured Martin Bormann or something. It was like, it was a joke. Okay. Anyway, they're out there, the Coots thing is ongoing. I'm in Ottawa at the time. And, I'm just kind of watching it, on the news like everybody else. And then all that happens. And I was like, here we go. Someone showed it to me right away. They're like, look at the vest. And I was like, oh, here we go. So the first thing is these aren't, there's those little patches. A friend of mine had been making them and selling them. Thousands of them are out in the world somewhere. And these ones weren't even those. These were homemade. I've later found out by someone else who just wanted to make their own and gave them out to people. And, it was kind of would it be any different if they're wearing it says the Montreal Canadiens on his jacket. Are the Montreal Canadiens involved?
Hold on a second. Let me pull that up. I'm going to fact check it. No, I don't know that we'll see that, but let me see if I can't actually. Diagolon. Oh, I'll go check afterwards. I can't find the.
What are you trying to check?
Oh, whether or not there was a Montreal Canadiens.
Oh yes, I don't know, but they were like, well, what do you have to say about what this connection? I'm like, was there a Waylon Jennings CD in any of these trucks? Perhaps Waylon Jennings is involved in some capacity.
Did he have a copy? Did he have a copy of Catcher in the Rye in his hand? Do we go after?
And in all seriousness, I mean, it's been how long? And there's been no arrests from anyone else. There's been no one. The police didn't even ask me a question. No one has approached me. No, nothing anywhere. There is no connection. If there was, what are you waiting for? What's going on here? There isn't one. I don't know what went on out there. Hopefully that's not true. They maintain their innocence, and because I choose to believe them, we'll see. if it turns out that that's not the case, and like there is a lot of evidence, like this is a very convincing, compelling case that they were planning, to kill a bunch of cops, then obviously then it's warranted. I don't think that's the case, but if that is what turns out to be true, then yeah, obviously, because that wasn't the intention or the goal of any people that I talked to anywhere, of any of these and you were downtown in Ottawa, and from what I understand out in Alberta, it was much of the same sentiment. It was like, we're here, we're not moving. It's that simple.
It's look, everyone should know I'm not biased and I don't have a vested interest. I've just felt this firsthand after the Cincinnati dude went to the FBI headquarters in Cincinnati and apparently was posting on Truth Social that Viva Frei said patriots are going to Mar-a-Lago. And then the media, first of all, I don't think the guy even watched my channel because I don't call people patriots. He says, I'm having trouble finding information, but Viva Frei says, and then all of a sudden, like someone mentions your name. Obviously the dude never watched my channel because I've always said no violence, specifically because this is what's going to happen. Other than the fact that I consider it to be immoral. This is what happens. It's used against you and you're not going to win that fight.
It reminds me, and this is interesting kind of social commentary, because we don't value, or at least, I mean, not we don't, but generally people don't really value personal responsibility anymore. They're always looking to blame someone else or something else, and rather than hold the person accountable for what they've done. It reminds me of back in when Columbine happened, at the shooting at the school. It came out that one of the kids was a big fan of Marilyn Manson. So Marilyn Manson has to explain to mainstream media why he's not responsible for a bunch of people being shot in a high school. I can't control. At the end of the day, like, you can be influenced and you can be, someone can say or, do something that maybe reaches you in a certain way. If you interpret that your own way, and you decide, because I didn't pick up a Bluetooth Xbox controller and take control of your body and make you go do anything. They decided on their own, as a functioning, sane, hopefully a decision-making adult, to do what they did. So that is who you hold accountable. And they're looking for other people to tie to this, to blame, because it scores political points, and it's about power. It's not about the truth. It's about them consolidating their political power.
But I mean, that's exactly my view as well. They use these events not to find solutions, but to suppress. And what it comes down to, because I was having these discussions with people. I said, by the way, on my channel, I said, I wouldn't go to Mar-a-Lago. Call me a coward. If you saw what they did to Jan 6, they're going to do that. But then someone says, well, even when you say don't go down, someone's going to know that it's there and they're going to think to go down. And so basically what they want to do is use it to shut up dissent, to shut up the critique. And I see it, it's mutatis mutandis from my deep dive into this now as to what they're doing to you. Take some dude who anybody who's going to go protest and they're going to be there probably is going to be more in line with you politically. Find some connection so they can then say is it raging dissent or raging dissident?
Dissident, yeah.
I'm getting mixed up.
Alex Jones has problems with this too. It's something about the southern air. I don't know if you guys can say the word.
Well, I just keep forgetting. But so they say, oh, look at this guy. This guy, of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people you've reached, might have done something illegal, hasn't been convicted yet. No correlation, causation, communication, but raging dissident. Now you need to shut up, because by you criticizing the government, it turns people against the government. Yeah. But while I suck and blow at the same time, the prime minister can call people disgusting wastes of space, but that doesn't encourage anybody to do anything. No. It's for political. That's my assessment. But so that's the connection that the media ran with this dude. Yeah. One of the accused took a picture with you, and this is going to be ironic because of where this goes. Took a picture with you. You said my security as the joke, and they're like, "We got him. We got him." Yeah. When did you find out that Parliament was invoking Diagolon in their debates?
Twas a wintry morning in February. I was devouring my morning breakfast in my quarters when I was alarmed to be shouts and screams. And my friend Alex was there, the ferryman's toll, and some other people were there. BGB, who black guy bigot, that was another time we call ourselves bigots as like a joke, because like, these people are bigots. I'm like, yes, yeah, I guess so.
Is BGB actually black?
Yes, very black. Yeah, he's part Indian as well, Sikh Indian. So
totally indicative of a racist,
obviously, and
race civil war movement.
Yeah, they're there talking about it in the Senate and House of Commons, and I would like spit my food out, and we just couldn't believe it. We're like, oh my god, this had been to troll like the anti-hate network and the media, and now it has like I honestly assumed I had faith in the intelligence service that they're going to know this is like, I assume they're reading my phone, like everything. Like they know absolutely everything that's going on. So there's no way that this is ever going to get misconstrued. I was wrong. apparently or they're doing it politically on purpose, or they're inept. I don't know, but that's a really big problem. And I think Canada needs to know about that, rather than focusing on actual national security threats, they've been chasing, me and my friends around for political points, or just because they don't know what they're doing. Either scenario is terrifying, which means we're completely defenseless against, the Russians, the Chinese, anybody that maybe have some designs on this country. That's a problem.
Jeremy, defenseless against the Chinese. We were training the Chinese back in 2019.
Yeah,
how to fight.
They're eating our lunch right now. But anyway, I came out there and BGB was there. Actually, the one when she said, the guy, he's like, oh, it's specifically to build a white ethno state. It's a neo-Nazi militia. He's reading this, and he was there, and I looked at him and he was like, so something you want to tell me, man? I'm like, this is the first I've heard of this. I'm just seeing this now. This is the first time.
It would be the movie. It would be Idiocracy, where they fall for the meme and then they have to make it true so they don't look stupid for having.
I've said my life is like a Will Ferrell movie. It's a dark comedy. It's now at this point, it's just bananas.
Well, now that you mention it, I'm seeing more Jack Galifianakis, but a more slender version. Okay, so you find out, and by the way, like it's funny. But you also have to be shitting your pants a little bit. Like if I'm going from my own experience, when I heard that in some of the criminal cases, they were referring to some of my live streams in
mine
court.
Too.
Yes, I start getting a little nervous. But so this is funny. But you've now shown that the emperor has no clothes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your gut reaction? What's your real life reaction?
When that happened, it freaked a lot of people. It was funny at first, and then it freaked a lot of people out. But it's kind of the burden. I mean, I don't like to think of it this way, but it is what it is. Like that's kind of what you have to do in like leadership positions. Like people are going to react to what you do, and if I go running around scared and freaking out, so are a lot of other people, and that's not good. And the entire intention was, keep people's morale up and bring people together and try to unify people around something and just build a community. I'm not going to destroy that because. I'm kind of freaked out, and it's me they want anyway. Like I'm what they're after, and maybe a couple of the other guys. So if this is how it's going to go, I know what I've done and what I've not done. I know what's true and what's not true. They may try to do more shenanigans to me in the future. I mean, other stuff has happened since then and continues to happen. I mean, people are following us. There's a lot of organized harassment and stuff. I'm not convinced it's entirely organic, if you know what I mean. People are taking pictures of our vehicles and vandalizing our property, and all this kind of stuff is going on. And I've had my passport taken. I don't know if I'm on a no-fly list or not. I haven't tried to go anywhere, but I imagine I probably am. This kind of stuff. So it's just, in the end, you have to kind of think like, what are they going to find? What's the argument going to be? I have to have faith in the Canadian public and the people of the world that when all of the cards are on the table, they're going to see this for what it is. If they don't, well, I don't really want to be here anyway. If that's the world we live in, where people are going to, see phantoms that don't exist, and we're convicting, ghosts and poltergeists now. This is crazy, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to come out in the wash, and that's why there's a hysteria around this right now. And a lot of National Post, Toronto Star, they're all just all piling on here.
I've got to bring one up. Let me bring this up for you. It's because piling up. When I did the research yesterday versus today, I noticed a few more articles today. Oh, yeah. Listen to this. That's Twitter. Hold on. Ottawa helped. No. Diagolon. What's to know about the? Listen to this. No thanks. This is from August 23rd.
Oh, I just wanted to see I see the byline. I don't need to know much else, but okay.
What's to know about the group whose founder shook Pierre Poilievre's hand? Look. By the way, I swear to you, I did not know this was Rachel Gilmore. I swear to you, I did not notice that part. But it doesn't matter.
I'm getting to know a lot of these journalists really intimately over the
Look at this, guys. I'm going to read this. Conservative leadership frontrunner Pierre Poilievre came under fire this past weekend after an image of him shaking hands with Jeremy Mackenzie, the founder of a group known as Diagolon, emerged. I wonder who in their right mind will watch the first hour and quarter of this stream and not laugh when they read this opening paragraph, knowing what they know now.
Hopefully no one.
Sometimes you just got to tell them what's up. Jeremy,
vague, deliberately vague, right? Because the entire point when I had the guy print today, he just did that because he's trying to put Pierre in hot water. That was not I said this openly on the stream in a video. I did it on purpose. It wasn't an anti-Pierre. It was an anti-media campaign.
Well, first of all, you know what?
And it worked.
This was a question someone had asked in the chat. Why would you set Pierre up? If this gets Pierre into trouble, people need to understand just how stupid everything is.
Exactly.
But if this actually gets Pierre into trouble, then you understand other politicians are liars, and I'll get to Jagmeet Singh's.
Yeah, and it was an indictment on the media. I was going for I'm going to put them in a position where they're not going to be able to help themselves, and they're going to act crazy, and they're going to, people are going to see it for what it is. Hopefully, that was the gamble.
Look
and so far, it appears that it is successful.
You have revealed that the emperor has no clothes yet again. Shortly after the image surfaced on Mackenzie's public Telegram channel. That's okay. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh called on Poilievre to, quote, denounce Jeremy Mackenzie and Diagolon, denounce shit posters, memers, survivalist enthusiasts, who he said are, quote, designated as violent extremists by Canada's Integrated Terrorism Assessment Center.
Now, to be a violent anything, don't you have to commit some form of violence?
Well, I mean, they designated Proud Boys as a terrorist group in Canada, and I don't know of any active terrorism, Proud Boys, whether or not it's a group. By the way, I was hypothesizing on why they did that at the time. First of all, get people used to just being arbitrarily designated as terrorist groups, and also it makes it easier for seizure of assets under the laws. But listen to this. Singh was referring to a report from Press Progress. People, let's just do our homework together for 1 second. I have to go see what's Press Progress. Well, this is what called them. This is what called them a violent group. Ottawa convoy helped violent extremist groups grow. Canadian counterterrorism report warned. I can go to see who funds this. I think we're going to know the answer.
Yeah.
But let's just go back to Rachel Gilmore's article here. Let me see here. Okay, fine. The document dated February 17th classifies Mackenzie as one of the, quote, key anti-government. That's probably anti-Trudeau government. IMVE. Ideologically motivated violent extremists adherents that attended.
Makes me sound pretty cool, actually. Thanks,
dude.
Rachel.
You said it's building you up as a IMVE.
Yeah.
As he attended the so-called Freedom Convoy protests in Ottawa, the Canadian government has not expressed formal concern about Diagolon, nor does it list the group as a terrorist entity. Then what the hell are you talking about? Okay, they haven't. There's no formal concern because they're a bunch of shit posters and meme artists, even by anti-hate. They haven't designated them as anything. But Jagmeet Singh referred to some. Okay, and then and it goes on. Diagolon, meme country, or extremist threat. If you have to ask the question, Rachel, I think we know. A drug-addled demonic goat named Philip.
Not in front of him. He's very sensitive.
I didn't even know this part. A fictional diagonal country running from Alaska to Florida. An alleged plot to kill RCMP. Oh, by the way.
One of these things is not like the other.
You see how they just, this is, we can stop reading here. Yeah. It's atrocious. But now, you know, did you disappear? No, I disappeared here. Boom, get this out of here. It's atrocious. They got the connection. And by the way, it does happen when you reach a lot of people. Like I say this just as a thought experiment. You reach 2 million people a month.
Yeah.
Just do your math, people. Some of those people are going to be criminals. It's just the way the things work. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to this picture because people now think they're going to say you're a controlled opposition trying to take down Pierre Poilievre, who has the best chance of winning the Conservative Party, taking down. You are a liberal plant. I mean, this is when you start seeing conspiracy. Why did you set up Pierre Poilievre like that?
I didn't. Simple as that. I already explained this. What I thought would happen is exactly what happened. The media would go crazy, make a bunch of insane statements, because before this, they had already tried to spear him with James Topp, because James Topp knows me. And if James Topp knows me and Pierre's with James Topp, then that means Pierre and I, like, they're trying to create there's some kind of conspiracy going on or something. Like Pierre is courting the fascists because he's next to this guy who knows that guy who said this one time. It's nonsense and lunacy. So it just so happens that Topp had come through the province over the weekend. And, I wanted to go check that out. And Antifa was promising to be there to stop them. They didn't show up, of course. Like they don't show up to their jobs. That's why they're all unemployed and sitting around on welfare and tweeting on the internet. So I went up, and it just so happens, coincidentally, Pierre was in the same city at the same time in Sydney, Nova Scotia. So then that just made them even more crazy. Then he's got an event not far from where I'm living, not a long drive. So I'm like, I'll go there and just get a picture with him, and they will lose their minds. They'll lose their minds. They'll call him all kinds of things. They'll say and try, and this will be exposed. More people are going to pay attention to this than ever. It's going to cause a shitstorm, and hopefully it doesn't damage his. I don't think so. I mean, here's the other thing. In my opinion, I mean, I'm not for or against either guy in this situation right now. I was genuinely curious to see what he was like in person, to see how good his performance was. He's very good at what he does. He's excellent, probably the most skilled politician in the country, in my opinion. And he's gonna win easily. Like, in my opinion, this guy, he's got it in the bag. Like, this is Tyson. This is 1991 Tyson versus anyone. They've got 318,000 votes just by him. Joined the party just through him. I mean, come on. It's fine. It's not gonna. Nothing I can do is gonna stop that man. Okay,
well,
so I'm not worried about that. So I just wanted the picture for the purposes I described, and hopefully they're not too upset with me, but no hard feelings.
When you say it won't harm his chances, I'll tell you this: it will harm his chances if he backpedals now and has to.
Yes. That was the gamble.
If it proves him to be a coward, it will hurt his chances. Yeah. The idea.
I loved his response. His response was exactly what I would have done. It was perfect. Where he didn't just. It wasn't a disavowal. It wasn't an acknowledgement. He said, he'll probably say, I speak to people all the time, hundreds of people. It's open to the public. I can't expect it to be who every single person that comes in and out. Obviously, right? But then he went a step further and said, I've taken pictures and shaken hands with the prime minister. Am I now suddenly responsible for his racist outbursts and remarks?
Not just that. Is now the prime minister not responsible for
who he's taking photos with?
Let's do the 6 steps of madness here. You'll go from, first of all,
who's Peter Daglish? Who are these guys? Why do you have pictures with so many convicted pedophiles? That's weird. Speaking of people in pictures, huh?
Well, I was gonna pick on Jugmeat with the separate.
Oh, and the terrorists. Yeah, that's a different photo. There's a lot to unpack here.
So, I mean, first of all, it is okay. Hold on. People are saying play the intro. What intro are they talking about? The intro to
probably from my channel. Yeah. There's like a 1 minute kind of summation of the whole thing.
Okay, am I going to get in trouble if I do this?
No,
you won't. You will not copy claim my video. This
is all a ruse. I just want that $50 or whatever I would get from you.
You're going to get
this is all it says.
Hold on. How do I get in here? YouTube. Stop doing that.
I'll find the time segment for
What's going on here? Sorry, I'm trying to find it in the backdrop. I'm just going to go to YouTube. Where do I find it, Jeremy?
I'm looking for it right now. I'm on the video. I'll show you the where is it?
Diagolon.
You're gonna want to go to 1 minute and 36 seconds. I'll put the link here in your private
okay, let's see how this
channel.
Looks. I think I can do
in
this.
StreamYard. So yeah, 1 minute 36 seconds.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, also
it's part of the intro. It's intro video on my channel. If they're
it's
just kind of a summary of like what if it's about a 5 minute video, and it should give you an idea of what this is.
And where do I want to go into this? You
said 1 minute and 36 seconds.
Okay. And also, just so everybody understands, I'm going to get to the super chats. I've been starting them because there's questions for you. Let me see here, Jeremy. Let's see here. Go to Chrome. Welcome to the Ragecast. Okay. No.
That's it.
It's this one here. Okay. I think
136, 135.
Okay. Yeah, this is it. Okay.
Story time. I got a story for you. It's a true story.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act.
Diagolon.
Okay, I saw this.
Diagolon. A far-right extremist group.
We're talking about a group that is organized, driven by an extreme ideology.
A so-called accelerationist group.
I've got, everybody needs to know, that's Marco Mendocino, the biggest liar in Canada right after Justin Trudeau.
He's mental, you might say. You might say it's mental Marco.
He's the one who talked about the truckers sexual, threatening women with RAP.
Just making stuff
former
up.
member of
Sorry, hold on. Go ahead.
He's just making stuff up. Yeah, sorry.
The Canadian Armed Forces,
which aims to accelerate racial conflict to lead to the eventual creation of a white ethno-state.
Its stated purpose is, quote, to incite a race war.
Dude. It's over.
That's
fucking done.
Who's
that's BGB. That's Black Guy Bigot.
Okay.
Parliament are talking about a meme to justify a state of emergency.
They're super country. Dude, did we predict this on one of the old fucking streams? Remember Diagonal Country all the way to Alaska? Dude, you know, here it is, all the way from Florida, all the way up, super diagonal country.
The Justin Trudeau regime declared war on a pretend country that doesn't exist.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act.
How much vitriol do we have to see of honk honk, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler?
Okay. Does it go on for more?
There's like another 20 seconds.
Oh. Okay.
Or it's probably.
You need people like me. So you can point and say, that's a bad guy. That's okay. I'll be a bad guy for you.
It's like pro wrestling.
Oh, I was going to say that sounded like Carlito's Way more than.
Scarface.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's kind of like pro wrestling at this point. That's how I'm kind of treating it. And it's like when people go to investigate and find out if pro wrestling is real, like when they come out to find out if I'm a terrorist, it's not. I would just lean into it enough that they would get stuff to run with, and then we would laugh because we know how this is going to end. But
I am curious as to whether or not anybody's going to. Sorry, another video started playing. Whether anyone's going to watch this, the strongest link between any legitimate critique is the fact that one of the people arrested in this alleged plot
there was 14 people arrested or something, were they not originally? They arrested a big number of them.
It's okay. All right. I look. Anyone in the chat, if I have missed anything on Jeremy, sorry, the two criminal charges that you're facing now. If you can, I'm reluctant to ask any questions about pending criminal proceedings or civil, but if you can explain the nature of them and whatever you feel comfortable disclosing.
Yeah.
Publicly.
So there was. How do I say this without because it still has to go to trial and everything, right? But I'm not concerned about it. In my opinion, they're trumped up political charges. It's all these scary gun charges. It's not what it sounds like. They're deliberately trying to misrepresent me and make it sound. I mean, the way they wrote about it. Like, if you thought that was bad, with the anti-hate stuff you read was bad. If you were my lawyer and you knew what we knew and you read that, you'd be like, as he is, going, "Oh my God," And then they tried to make it sound as though we were like stalking this. My girlfriend and I. There was a pile of people out there, but they only arrested me and her. And it's just. That's the game we're playing right now. So I'm not worried about it long term. It's just
the nature of the charges.
So
one of them is gun related.
Yeah, they confiscated all of my legally acquired firearms from my home and charged me with a whole bunch of stuff and made me sound like a maniac. And you've got people in the Maritimes in the news here saying that I'm probably going to be a mass murderer and I'm the next Gabriel Wortman and all of it. I'm a terrorist and all these kinds of things just because of the way they worded it. And they're not correcting anyone. They're fine to just sit here and watch them drag me and attack my family. They've published my address, my home address where I was staying at the time. Still am. And my father lives there. My mom, it's a great big home, generational home. My sister and her whole family, her husband and their children live there. There's a whole bunch of us living there. And that's what we're dealing with on a daily basis. And no one's correcting them, or no one's saying they're more than happy to let them believe that I'm some kind of dangerous neo-Nazi and terrorist. And you've got all these people out here posting this stuff, and this is where we live, and this is what we're up to, and somebody should do something about this. And you get phone calls, and there's people sending weird stuff in the mail sometimes, and people driving by the house and taking pictures of it. My truck vandalized. There was a situation with my bike a little while back. So I hold them accountable, right? So they want to talk about encouraging and inciting, crime. The media has done that to me over and over again and continues to do it. So I have no sympathy for them at all. None.
Now someone's going to say that's a dog whistle right there. And that's a dog whistle so that you're in a position where, as they're abusing you, you can no longer complain about it or criticize it. So one of the charges gun related and the other one stalking and harassing.
It was, it's criminal harassment.
Okay,
for
you
standing in a street.
Both of those two charges, there's
a bunch of guns. There's a litany of it. So like they can seize one firearm and give you 5 charges for it because a number, like they'll say, oh, it's illegal and it's not registered. You don't have a license and it's stored improperly and it's painted the wrong color and it's all these kinds of things. And they can just there's 7 right there. Oh, how many do you have? You have 5 or 6? Yeah, it's gonna be a while. And then it sounds horrible when it hits the news, right? But.
And now, for anybody who's saying I'm going too easy on you, look, if you want to put it together, you'll put it together. When I saw they went after, I totally forget his name now. Jeez Louise, the MPP Ontario. The charges I can't believe it. I'm totally
Randy
Hillier. Sorry, jeez, I feel bad. Great guy. They charged him with assault on a police officer
Yes.
because of movie. So once you've seen that with your own eyes, you now start to look at all other charges and say, if they arrested Randy Hillier with assaulting a police officer because he moved sitting politician because he moved a barricade. I saw the video. I posted the video.
Yeah.
Now call me a conspiracy theorist. I'm going to be a little more skeptical when I hear that they pressed gun-related charges and criminal harassment against me. But they got it. Media can run with it now, like they can run with Randy Hillier, assaulted a police officer. He'll get acquitted. They might even drop the charges like they did against all the other truckers at the JCCF.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my trial's not even until next year, like well into next year. So it's going to be lots of time left for them to keep printing this and saying this kind of stuff. And I also, this is something else I'd like to point out, because you just have a much bigger audience that, I'd like, thanks to especially somebody, I don't want to condemn the entire, I go hard on them quite a bit, the RCMP, but obviously they're not all bad people and they're not all bad guys. But there are some pretty messed up people in there. And they like to just, they decided to tell the media that I'm suffering from severe PTSD, which is incorrect. So, but that's fine. So now the media's run that around in the news and says that's what the police say. They didn't speak to my doctor. I don't even have one. They don't have access to my medical records. They don't know anything about that, but they just decided to print that anyway. So now the media's run around saying I'm, this guy's sitting on a big pile of illegal weapons cache and he's crazy. That's the perception of me now, at home around the Maritimes and stuff. So you don't worry about it too much. I try not to think about it, but I mean, I'm always prepared for somebody to, take a shot at me or something. Maybe they want to start a fight with me or that kind of thing. So
I'm wondering if they also just recommended euthanasia like they do to other soldiers. Hey, he's got PTSD. Trudeau, rubber stamp him for euthanasia.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to see if here. Thanks, Viva Frei, brother, to make we know more about Raging Dissident, Pissed Off Dragon. I'm going to get to a bunch of super chats and then let the chat tell me if I've missed anything.
Sure.
I think I've covered everything, Jeremy. And people, first of all, if Jeremy has lied about anything right now, internet will find out. If I missed on anything, let me know. But I do my homework when I want.
Oh yeah, someone just mentioned that. I should mention that. Do you remember the group chat? I think it was a WhatsApp of all the RCMP officers celebrating, trampling all the people and beating them. And yeah, I'm the one that leaked that. So they don't like me.
I did not know that. I did not know. I remember that.
Okay. There's someone in there that sent it to me and I read them and was like, I'm going to release this, right? He's like, that's why I sent it to you. So I put it on Telegram and within an hour or 2 hours, it was like, a million views. Look at that. People are not pumped. And that was never addressed. The media never touched that with a 10-foot pole. So you've got an admission and they say, oh, no one was trampled with horses. It's on video.
Two people
they admit doing it and they liked it.
They would have, it would have been, I think, was this in the thread where they said if the horse had to be euthanized, it would have been good publicity?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This one I'm bringing up because I flagged this a while ago. June Marie says, when my daughter died, Jeremy saved my life. He said, no one gets on the truck. He is loved by many, and the only reason many of us are still here. What does not gets on the truck mean?
Oh, thank you for saying that, June. That's fair. I'm my condolences. So sorry. There's kind of a thing in the military where there's a safety vehicle. Like when you're doing like long marches and stuff, like miserable, like we're going 25 kilometers or something, or 15 kilometers with 100 pounds on your back, and you're like, oh God. And you got a time limit in this kind of thing. And there's difficult courses that, officer training and, special forces training and stuff. And it's like, if you want to, you can just get on the truck and this ends right now. Just step on the line, go and get on the truck and you can go home to your nice bed and get out of the rain and get your wet clothes off and get some food, go to sleep. Does that sound nice? Isn't that nice? So you're going to quit. You're going to give up rather than, continue forward through the misery, for the win. You're going to give. So that's why, because a big portion of my audience were military guys for a long time, still are. Veterans for Freedom. So I would mention them, veteransforfreedom.ca. No one gets on the truck. It's not allowed. And that's kind of the community, one of the community things to, hold each other accountable and keep people like, in the game, because it's a stressful time. And a lot of people, I mean, we've seen how many suicides. One of my friends killed himself like while I was in the middle of a broadcast back in the summertime, last summer. And Herman Williams is his name. And, it's a terrible blow. Like we need these people. We need these guys, and not just veterans, like everybody that's involved, everybody that understands what's kind of at stake and what's happening. Everyone's required to help push, because, we've only gotten this far and there's so much more work to do. And you never know who's going to be in what kind of position today, tomorrow, or 5 years, or they may be in the position at that point in time to push the button that, moves the ball in the right direction. And everything's different just because they were there in the right place, the right time. And you're never going to know that. You're never going to know what you could or couldn't have done if you leave early, if you go home, if you get on the truck. if you kill yourself, so don't do it.
I'm a gun plumber, leaving a 17-year career over the tyranny of the last 2 years. Both your content have really helped me through leaving everything I knew behind. Thank you both.
Ugh.
Jeremy, can you explain how they were trying to tie Diagolon into the Coots AB event? Matt, thank you. I think we've covered that and how. Okay, I got that one too. Viva, are you about the shirt? Spaghetti. Oh, dude, Jeremy, what were you wearing?
I had a tank top on. It's the World Gym. It's the gym I go to. It's hot. It's like 40 degrees out sometimes. And everybody gets all upset about it. The ladies liked it. Okay. Everyone's fine with it. Morgan likes it. It's fine.
I say it without judgment. It looked like it might have been a woman's shirt. There's nothing wrong with that. It was just a very thin.
My chest is just so huge at the event. It doesn't look like a regular men's shirt here. It gets all stretched out. You got to let it out.
Oh, it was a good one. I was hypothesizing, but okay, the regular tank top. The internet historian would love this story. The meme that shook a nation. Highly recommend you reach out and make this international. Well, it's international now. I'm Canadian, people, but I am in Florida for a little bit.
It's crazy. It's a crazy story. I mean, it's a how scary is that? When you're done laughing, think the people that are supposed to keep us safe from terrorists and foreign, interference and attacks are chasing. They're worried about this right now.
It's a demonic. Rachel Gilmore's reporting on it.
Yeah. He is demonic. Well, he's not. He's got supernatural powers, and he is quite disturbed. You ever see Mike Tyson's Mysteries?
Nope.
No, you haven't. Well, probably people that are watching have. Pigeon. Think he's kind of like that.
Cesis watches us all. What a waste. Likely watching all the chat now too. Apparently, I'm a black-white accelerationist. The voice.
He's another one of the guys. Yeah, the voice of reason. He's got a great channel.
I'm the patch seller. Patches have been sent all over the world. They send payment. I send patch. We don't vet for the patches sales any much. No, it's like the time when the guy said subscribe to PewDiePie and then went and murdered all the people in Christchurch. Yeah. It's like, and the media was getting after him for inflaming white nationalism. It's just they just want to shut down popular but critical voices.
And they like to find people to gang up on.
Oh,
just for the sake of pointing at someone else rather than look in the mirror. There's a lot of that going on these days.
Is Diagolon behind the Trucker Freedom Convoy? Is Diagolon the reason Trudeau invoked the EA? So I think we fielded that. I don't think
you heard this. You heard the Senate.
It had to do with the EA for sure, but I don't think Diagolon had nothing to do with organizing.
No, and I'm being investigated for that as well, and I may be testifying at the public inquiry in a couple of weeks here in September. And for a long time, I couldn't. I'm like, well, I didn't, I did no fundraising. I didn't give anyone any money. I didn't coordinate anything. I simply just went there, as you did, just went there to, be there because this is where everything's happening. I want to, be around it and see what's going on. And, a bunch of my friends came down. But what happened was I put a video out and I had like 500,000 views or something where I was laughing at the prime minister. And, this is a big problem. I was like, what are you going to do now? You've got all these trucks coming and they're not going to leave. And I don't know. I'm scratching my head. Like, what can they do? I don't know. And neither did they, apparently, because it went on for weeks. But that was the first introduction I think a lot of people had to the convoy. Apparently, 500,000 people or so. So there was this perception that I was organizing or running or part of the management. I was just a guy on the internet that made a silly video about it, and for some reason I ended up as the face of this thing in the same kind of similar way as like Pat King, maybe, who really wasn't that involved with anything at all. He just was there. Allegedly, I don't know. I've never talked to the guy, but I generally I think I know now who most of the organizers and leadership was, and I didn't know them, didn't talk to them. Neither did Pat, neither did anyone. So.
I was one step, I just went down to the document, but I did donate, and I donated a lot because I gave to the GoFundMe, and then they refunded me, and I said, screw you, you're not going to tell me what I can and cannot donate to a federally incorporated not-for-profit. Yeah. And then someone's like, Dave, you're on the list docs. I was like, dude, first of all, I mentioned it before there was the docs because no one's going to tell me that I can't donate to a non-criminal, non-indicted entity and refund me. Go after yourself, GoFundMe.
And then they started freezing bank accounts after that. Which
I won't lie. I was a little nervous they were going to freeze my bank account. I was a little nervous, but apparently that was only organizers of the convoy, not people who donated. Because I was like, you know what? Do it and see what happens, especially if you do it to a reasonably savvy lawyer. Yeah. Freezing a bank account for donating to a federally incorporated not-for-profit. Hey, government, you authorized that incorporation of a not-for-profit. It was not-for-profit. You guys are responsible. If that's not entrapment, I don't know what is.
Ooh, I didn't know that part.
Well, I know. I made up the entrapment. That would be my argument. If it was federally incorporated, so they apply, they get the government to say, yes, you are a not-for-profit, and then you're going to freeze my bank account for donating to an entity, a corporate entity that you government authorized. There'll be some good arguments there. Hold on. There were three more. Well, here's one super sticker. I think we've gotten to all the questions, Jeremy. Though I do believe in individual accountability and responsibility, I have to say that in the last few years, I wonder if an alien mind virus has taken. It's called hive mind. It's what it is.
It's communism.
Yeah, that's what I said. Is the final. I didn't understand the meme at the time. I understand it now.
Yeah.
Will we need to escape Canada via the southern border? If it hadn't become so dumb, I think Borat was behind this. Jeremy, you are great, and this whole thing is ridiculous. God bless you and your fam. And one more super chat that I have not unflagged yet. I attended the first Ontario DAG meeting. Oh, Diagolon. Okay.
Yeah, that's the short for. Oh, and also mention the enemy nation is Circulon, and they're a big circle. Their flag is. They're just the opposite of Diagolon, and it's kind of, we're battling each other. It's an endless war, like Batman and the Joker. It's timeless. So.
It's fantastic. Best guys I ever met, and they have become family, and it's only grown from there. If it wasn't for Jeremy, I'd never.
We call them the Circs. Yeah.
This is fantastic.
The Dags and the Circs. Yeah.
Jeremy, have I missed anything that you would want to say in your defense if you needed one? I mean, I think you've probably explained everything more vocally on your channel, but did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving it the attention. I mean, it was just a matter of time. I thought, because this story's crazy, and as we get closer to this inquiry, and I've had people do freedom of information requests to the state for, like, I just want to see what you got on everything referencing Diagolon. And they said, well, it's hundreds and maybe thousands of pages, and it'll take us a year to get it to you. So I've had friends of mine harassed, intimidated, followed around, repeatedly contacted by members of CSIS and the RCMP, wanting to ask, and they don't want to talk to them, or they do talk to them, and they're like, I watch a podcast, man. I don't know what to tell you. Near almost 100 people that I'm aware of. So you have to imagine this is extremely expensive organization or extremely expensive endeavor that they've engaged in. I mean, the government loves to waste money. This one apparently, anyway. And I've offered so many times. I'm not hiding. You can come over and talk to me anytime you want. You can call me. I mean, they have no problem calling people on the phone. They've been doing it all the time, and they refuse to. No one from CSIS or the RCMP has approached me once. I've offered to. They don't want to talk to me, and that leads me to think they're not trying to find answers as to what's going on. They're trying to put me in a cage.
Oh, they are weaponizing this for political purposes. There's no doubt. It's analogous to what Pierre Elliott Trudeau did after he invoked the War Measures Act. He, I think, justifiably invoked it and then used it and abused it to go after political adversaries. Justin Trudeau didn't even get the mailbox bomb. He didn't get any act of violence, but Diagolon gave him the reason. And now he's using it to persecute political dissidents and not actual threats to the state. That's my truck Fudo. Love you both. Tara, thank you very much. Man, this is okay. Look, I hope I do hope some media is watching this. They can see this and understand it for themselves.
And the other thing too is, like, I'd even be willing. I'd forgive the police officers. I'd forgive even some of the maybe some of the people in CSIS and so on that were duped by this and felt. I mean, you only know what you've been told, right? However, the people that are chiefly responsible for this, in my opinion, is the media apparatus and people inside that Canadian anti-hate network, which is funded by the government to astroturf these narratives about their political opposition. They knew they were lying, and they did it anyway for political objectives. And lazily, the media just copied and pasted and ran with it. And then, seeing all this, now we're having investigations, we're wasting time, and it's crazy. And who's at risk, and what are we not seeing, and what are we not going to catch? Because people that are, supposed to be entrusted with finding actual threats are not spending their time on doing that. They're spending time watching me drink beers and yell about society with my friends on the internet. That's not a good thing, guys.
Let me bring this up just to prove one point before the other. Canada government and the anti-hate group. Here we go. So Government of Canada and the Canadian Anti-Hate Network launch anti-hate toolkit for Canadian schools. Quick facts here. The Government of Canada provided $268,000 through the Anti-Racism Action Program to support the Canadian Anti-Hate Network's project, containing and countering Canadian hate groups. I mean, that's just one particular project. But,
And they do have like outsourced kind of internet pretend people that can get away with a lot of stuff like slander, defamation, and libel. Because how do you sue an anonymous Twitter account? You can't. How do you hold that person accountable? You can't, because you don't know who they are. But the media quotes them and uses them all the time. And the Canadian Anti-Hate Network does as well, which leads me to believe they're probably connected. There's probably a connection there. So there's this Twitter account called @Tony, Tony, YVCE, who's probably the most prolific and egregious offender of this kind of stuff. And currently there's a $10,000 reward from myself if you if you can prove the identity of that account. Your name and submission will remain secret, and I'll never tell anybody who it was. And I definitely will pay. I don't even care if you're his mom, it doesn't matter to me. But there's a lot of people, not just me, very interested in going after that person for what they've been doing. And so just wanted to throw that out there to your audience in case anybody knows anything about it. Go ahead and email me.
I would warn about doxing.
I just want to know so my lawyers can take it from there. That's all.
It'll remain confidential if the information gets to Jeremy, so he knows who to serve. By the way, typically, this is a handle and not a website, because this is why when you register a domain, you have to provide a point of contact. I was just trying to see who funds Press Progress or whatever the heck that is.
And that's Canadian, $10,000 Canadian, so like $60 American. Don't get too excited. It's Canadian money, so it's not really that much.
Don't dox anybody, people. I'm telling you, don't dox. Even if it's technically not a crime, don't do it, because what they'll do is they'll say Jeremy was out here inciting people to dox private citizens. They have no problem doing it to
they do it to me all the time.
To people who do it in their own name. But if Jeremy needs to know who to serve, I'm sure your lawyers can find that anyhow.
They've been looking. Yeah. Twitter, we have to wait for Twitter's legal department to hand it over, and that can be a while.
Great job, boys. It's worth mentioning there are many amazing women supporting the podcast as well. Jeremy, I think we've covered it all, and I think I understand you. I think this. I knew it from the beginning. This is all preposterous. This is all ridiculous. If one person who happens to follow you does something stupid, the idea that the joke, which is a community building, therapeutic thing for people who have been abused by their government for going on 3 years now. You've been abused, and now we're going to abuse you just one more time by turning you into criminals. We don't have the criminals that we need. We're going to make the ones that we want. That's what they tried to do in Ottawa. It's what they're trying to do with you, is my assessment, people. I've heard more information now and done more research. I would suspect that 99% of the media writing those pieces that we're seeing in the news these days. Jeremy, where can people find you?
RagingDissident.com is the website with all the relevant links and stuff to YouTube channels and whatever is. I think Twitter is banned now, but it's also available. The podcast is on all of there. It's on Spotify and Podbean and those places as well. If you like to listen to it at your leisure, I don't recommend doing it while you're driving. You may become very upset and crash your vehicle. I don't know, but that's it. And primarily, I like to use Telegram to keep in touch with people and give them updates and that kind of thing. So t.me/RagingDissidentII, like the Roman numerals. That's where you can find all of that.
Now, someone said answer Alex Ruff, and I don't see the question.
Is he here?
Do you know who that is?
Yes, he's my old commanding officer from the military.
Okay, so hold on, people. We're going to wait. I'm going to go down to the bottom of the chat.
That's worth finding.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, people, what was Alex Ruff's question? Because I thought maybe someone thinks I'm deliberately.
He's also the currently sitting Conservative MP for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound, I believe.
Okay, people, get Alex Ruff's question in there. It takes a little bit more time to populate in StreamYards than on YouTube, but I'll see it in a second. Great interview, guys. My government called me a white nationalist neo-Nazi trying to lead us to a white ethno-state. Yes, it's stranger than fiction. Black Eye Bigot Man, how you doing?
He's like, you guys, you can call me that. People just call him BGB, because they're like, He's like, I don't mind. It's fine.
You know what? I don't even feel comfortable with making the joke. What about on Rumble? Are you on Rumble?
Yes. Yeah, it's on there as well. All RagingDissident.com is all the links. I live stream.
By the way,
usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch. But it's all, you can go to the website and find it.
You'll see, I'm going to pin all your links to the pinned comment of this stream. I'm just looking for Ruff's question, but maybe that was it.
I don't know.
Pissed Off Dragon.
No one seems to find it.
And people, I'm not avoiding it because I missed it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeremy Hart. And let's just see BGB. Okay. Well, that might have been it.
If he is watching, he can, sir, you can feel free to email me. I wouldn't mind talking to you if that's what you're after.
Tabarnouche. People, someone get Alex Russ' question in there and put it in caps. Don't put a comment in caps unless
he was my company commander in Afghanistan as well in 2007.
How many years you spend with him?
He was a company commander there probably when I was in a hotel company, so maybe a year and change, year and a half, and then he came back. He was the battalion commander actually when I was there till I think we left the second battalion around the same time. I think 2012. I went to 3 RCR in Petawawa. So probably a couple of years. I mean, you don't spend much time with him when he's the battalion commander. I mean, I'm just here yelling at teenagers like to stop dropping bombs, grenades everywhere, and he's up in his office or up, doing colonel stuff.
I'm seeing a bunch of jokes. I guess he asked why Jeremy hates women. He asked why Jeremy said, okay.
Oh, okay. It's one of these people.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think those were the jokes. Okay. I don't know. I don't get some of these jokes. Jeremy, unless someone gets the actual question in here, it was with large question marks about sitting member. Oh, I brought that one up. Is there any sitting member of parliament? Oh, I brought that question up. Who can vouch for your character or who would vouch for your character?
I don't know. Maybe him. Maybe. I did work for him. He may remember me. Like I've talked to him more than a couple of times. Sitting member of parliament.
This might be
Tom Marazzo is in here. He ran for
is Alex as an MP standing up for Jeremy's character? I don't know what that couldn't have been the question. People,
don't know.
It's out there. This interview will be out there 2 hours. Rachel, anyone from CTV, Global News, wherever else, you can watch this. If Jeremy has lied,
they are.
Yeah, no, it's and it's out there, and people are going to come to their own conclusions now. Is Diagolon an extremist group, an ideologically motivated, violent extremist group, or is it a meme? And our idiot, divisive politicians fell for it, and now they have to protect themselves by making it true, because otherwise, the world might know we're governed by idiots. We are. Jeremy, stick around. We'll say our proper goodbyes.
Sure.
Everyone in the chat, thank you. Snip, clip, share around. Share the interview. Share it on your various platforms.
Yeah.
It's on
I appreciate it. I appreciate you sticking your neck out, and you're going to take heat and flack for this, and not everybody does that anymore. And it's been a while. It's I'm just I appreciate you taking the time and exposing yourself to what's probably going to be annoying. Emails and so on.
I can deal with that. If I smell an injustice, I tend to get a little irritated. And also, by the way, if you need to be amplified because you are actually jokingly trying to start an insurrection. Hey, look, the sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. Shine a big spotlight on everything, and people will see if it's good, bad, true, or wrong, false. This was fantastic. Okay, people.
Appreciate it.
There's still time left in the day. Get out there, exercise, talk to people in real life. Don't lose hope. Stay civil, stay vigilant, maintain your humanity, and fight the good fight. Okay, see you soon, people. Peace out.